Hello, this is Pharaoh Vincent with Nation 1111, and we're jumping into Wastelands against 229's TDL, or their second place alliance. And this is probably going to be another one of those really entertaining matches. Let's go with that word. So, I'm going to apologize in advance if this ends up being a fair blowout. Also, sorry that my voice is a little rough today. Let's see. There's some zombies in there up to the max. Yeah, good enough. We're trying various different playlists, so fair warning. Alright, and we'll send a fairly balanced fleet all in all, just to start this bad boy off. 1,000. Do 5,000 shredders, 200 bites, 1,000 of these bad boys, do all 8,000 EMPs, 2,000 axes, 1,000 gunners, 10,000 tanks, 1,000 havocs, 2,000 shields, and then we'll max the cannons, and that's our starting fleet. So yeah, this Wasteland, I'm not sure how competitive it's going to be, because I was looking over the general stats, and I think TDL has an uphill battle. If they show up in huge numbers, they have a chance to do some damage, but I don't think they're going to last very long. So, we'll see. By the way, the band that's playing, or the person who composed it, I guess, is Ethan Nexel. Oh, this is all on YouTube Creator Music. It's pretty cool. They, this thing in beta that essentially lets you like pick playlists for free. So I just went with a metal playlist. It's actually the shortest one, so it only has like 21 soundtracks to it. Ironically, it's the music that I would normally listen to. So like the fact that, you know, I'm here and it's such a short playlist kind of makes me sad. I see my alliance is already at it. Gotta pick on Ronnie. That's the goal. So YouTube, you can join. There's DKM saying he doesn't spend on something. None of us believe him. Although, to be fair, does look like Morgoth's in the lead right now, so. So yeah, this is going to be probably a bloodbath. Let's be honest, I'm betting it's going to be a bloodbath. Because, yeah. I found a couple of people that were like close to 10 million officer BP. And like 1.8 8 million Titans, which is not a lot. So we'll see. I realize I could have watched them, figure out how many are going in, but it's okay. We'll figure it out when we get there. But yeah, if they show up with any kind of serious number, and this actually becomes way more doable for them. If they show up in relatively low to no numbers, then this is going to be another short video on Wasteland. That's just how we're gonna do it. Oh, you missed one, Poppy. Smoke. You missed a dude. Yeah. I mean, they have what, 3-ish there. They have 1 here, 1 there. 5 against 20 or so. Like, this is gonna be not all that competitive. Speed up a little bit to catch up to Morgoth, because why not? Make sure that we can hold the central point. Alright. One of these days I will remember to turn that ice maker off early. We'll speed in a little bit. See if we can't help him get it going. Okay. I see. Yep, there's Morgoth. Oh, wow. I think Morgoth just parachuted. He's fine, I'll help him. Not that he needed my help. In fact, these guys turning around just made that harder on themselves. But it's okay. Yep. And here comes the chokehold. All right. Let's see. Just gonna go back to the base early. And we're just gonna go straight to a troll fleet. Play with some kill averaging. Wait, where's my EMPs? Where's the Havocs? There's my Havocs. Get some of those T11 Havocs in there, and then we'll rest in there, and we'll get moving. All right. So now our goal is to get across the map and steal some kills. That's our goal. Do the triple tap of 25s. Skyguard going down and over. Yeah, all right. We'll decide which way we head here in about 10 seconds. I mean, clearly they've been going up a little bit, but they're bound to go mid. Yeah. We're heading here. We'll just head straight to the middle. Although, I picked the wrong direction, it seems. Let's see. Yeah, they're dying so fast. Make sure I can catch those kills. I mean, at least that dude sped up to like catch up to his buddy. And that's not a bad thing to do in a lot of these, because like honestly, just this feeding tube is going to be the least viable way for them to start getting kills, right? It would be ideal if they could, you know, sync up and just go into one big clump of people. Like, slow down, do that. You're going to get more points that way. Is it going to change the outcome of this fight? No, not at all. I mean, what, they had 8 people there versus 10, and they're outgunned? Yeah. Alright. Let's play around with kill averaging. Let's take a look at these. So, as you guys can see, like, statistically, not strong stats. And luckily, I'm picking up mostly on the long range. So, EMPs and the cannons on that one. I'm assuming I have a lot of long range cities in this group, right? DKM, there's one. Just DKM. Stephanie, I think, is also long range. Yeah. And so she's not bad. But she did send a bunch of snipers. But you can kind of see, like, me, like, getting more because she actually has, you know, melee and a decent number of troops, and so her cannons are actually not getting as many as mine. My warplane definitely didn't get 12,000 kills, so it's siphoning. I have a new theory on how Titans and warplanes average that I've been kind of playing with in terms of what I think could be creating the average on those kills. And, you know, for anyone who hasn't seen my generalized content, I don't believe stats are averaged. In fact, I think a lot of people who talk about stat averaging don't actually talk about stats being averaged. They talk about kills being averaged. So whenever I see people doing like mathematical equations on how this could possibly work, they're using things like sum product or well, mainly sum product in Excel. And what sum product is it's essentially you're adding up 3 different numbers in 3 different places, right? So you'll add up the total number of troops, you'll add up the total base stats, you'll add up the total of the percentage of bonuses. Once you multiply those, add those 3 values together, you multiply them straight across. And so at no point was there any averaging in the sum product equation that is being used to represent like the effective damage output, right? So that isn't an average. But 100%, I think we're running into this situation where, you know, stats are being averaged. And you can see that in the fact that, like, you know, I'm getting as many kills as I am. Because there's no reason that I should be getting that share of kills other than the fact that stats are averaged. So that's the argument. That's what a lot of this comes down to. We'll chase kills. Why not, guys? There we go. Hi, somebody teleported in behind us. That's cute. We'll link it. I think that's how you spell it. I don't even know. I'm not known for my spelling. But yeah, and so essentially what the whole premise of kind of stat and kill averaging, what it all like comes down to in a lot of ways is, you know, a lot of these like, a lot of people think that because kills are averaged, the statistics are averaged, and so that's why it comes out and at the end value of being averaged. And it's probably not the case. So anyways, that's the long and short of it. We're back here. We'll sit here for a second. The theory I'm running into with Titans and Warplane is it comes down to tier evolution to determine which, like, how the statistics are broken out, right? So with Titans and Warplanes, the tier, kind of like a troop tier, would be determined by its evolution level, right? And so you have these modified levels. Each of these have their lacerator tier, right? Like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all the way up to 10. You can combine all of those totals to make up to, because it's like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, right? So there's 80 tiers. And so people can look at that and say, okay, well, DKM I know has a full 80 tier warplane, right? So if my troops are getting, or if my warplane is getting about a tenth of his kills, or sorry, a fourth of his kills, that makes sense, right? So in this case, 14,000 versus 43,000. Rough math in my head, that's what, 3 times? So it doesn't quite add up. And so, like, it doesn't work perfectly, but it's kind of the main running theory I've got on it right now. Is that, you know, you're stealing based off of that difference in evolution. It could give you a weighted average for kills based on your statistics. So how much is it actually bringing? That is technically possible. I would need to know all the values of warplanes. I could theoretically get the value of his warplane, and I might do that here soon just to see. Because that would be the only other thing I could possibly think of that would affect that. would be maybe like, okay, the attack is, X percentage higher than mine. That percentage tracks to how much I've got. Something like that. I don't know. It's such a weirdly difficult topic to like break down and figure out mathematically without getting the actual like statistical total from the game itself. But it's certainly something that has consumed my gaming experience since I've been back. Because it's like one of the big things, like as soon as I log back in, they're like, stats are averaged and weak players make strong players weaker. And I'm like, I don't think that's actually happening. And ironically, especially if like the sum product, which to be fair, I think is arguably the most accurate way of representing stats in this game, if that's actually, if it ends up being the most accurate, then you'll enter this scenario where not only are stats not averaged, the more troops you have, the better you're going to be. And so you don't actually have to think about that at all. I'll tap that, 4 times? Yeah, I'll do a 5th. Why not? There we go. So yeah, stat averaging, probably not something that works the way people think it does. That's the TLDR. Kill averaging, though. There's some pretty decent, evidence that kills are not only averaged, but yeah, I've got so many videos of me just playing with it now. These guys aren't even sending real fleets anymore, are they? It's fine. I'm gonna stop chasing. So yeah, this is gonna be a blowout. So I'm probably not gonna record this whole thing of us committing a war crime. So yeah, let's take a look at some of these reports. That way we get a few more examples. Honestly, I spend most of my time thinking about these things while I'm here and like playing this specific event, right? Because like I'm noticing that the more I play Wastelands and play around with this, the more I notice how the system kind of works. So yeah, it's certainly interesting. Yeah, there's no way I would ever get down there, so. Yeah, Wastelands seems to be the one that, like, has been the funnest to play around with, because, like, you all see, like, with these troll fleets, they get a lot of kills. That's not the issue, right? I'm getting second highest usually, although I guess in this case, Wraith. Ooh, Wraith. Wraith's tanks. Look at that. Y'all aren't used to seeing melee cities. But yeah, Wraith's in there, so that makes sense. And since I'm not sending melee, that's gonna affect the kill average that I could get. What am I supposed to... Oh. Yeah, fine. But the problem is, the punchline is in the video. That's the problem. But yeah, what did Cinderella say when she gets to the ball? Yeah. Funny. Anyways, you can see what happens when Mad shows up to Wastelands nowadays. Wastelands, since I've been back, has been mostly just blowouts in Mad, that is. I don't know. These guys are they're an old nation. They would have decent average strength, but they're so horrendously outclassed at this point. Because, like, you know, looking at some of these stats, like, you know, that's not bad, right? That's not bad. It's not bad. So, like, a lot of these guys should be an average, you know, 1,800, somewhere in there. So, if the sum product method of doing statistics was accurate, and if we were to argue this whole, like, A, stats are not average, B, that there's some kind of a formula in which you will add up the base damage and the multipliers separately. So you add the base damage up in one bucket, you add the multipliers up in another bucket, and you combine them together. That actually means that there is a mathematical total in which they would be able to catch up to a whale. So there's a certain number of cities they would have to do in order to catch up with essentially Mad's 8 C41s. And so that that has been arguably the thing that I've been trying to figure out the most. And I think, you know, you're looking at, and it would have to be a troop total, right? So if you think about it, like, we'll bring up a calculator, actually. We're going to play this game. Right? If you think of it like you have, I don't know, 641,000 troops that all deal, so I'm going to multiply, they all deal, I'm trying to think, like, go do the actual thing, make it as close to a live example as possible. I'm going to pick on the T12 sniper just because it's a single unit. So 93 damage. Oh wait, nope, that's not a sniper. T12 sniper. 279, right? So all of these are dealing 279 damage. And now you're up to, you know, 178,839,000, and then you have 2,000% LRA. Yeah, we'll do 2,500. That's 44 million. 447 billion, 97,500,000 damage. It's a ton, right? So, in order to circumvent that, right, you would need to spend troops proportional. So, if we're talking about just these weaker sort of big ball, right? If you had, I don't know, say 10 people with a fleet size of 450k, And then you have 10 people, so that gets you up to 4,500,000 troops. We'll still keep that 279, so times 279, right, is the 1,255,000. And if they all collectively, those 10 people added up to, 10 times 1,000 would be what? 10,000 LRA. You'd have to take, oh, hang on, I didn't do that quite right. It'd be this number right here times 10,000. That should, right, because that's 1, 2, 3, 4 commas. That's 1, 2, 3 commas, right? So this should be that. So essentially, if DKM went up against, 4.5 million troops, you'd most likely lose a fight. And I can't say that that's technically possible, though. So that's where, I don't know, I've seen him beat somebody with a city that is like 4 million. I don't know. It doesn't always make sense. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, right. But yeah, so anyways, TLDR, it's not perfect, because even when I'm thinking, it doesn't always stand up to the smell check, right? Like, if I were to put this against the overall smell test and say, hey, does this always work the way I think it does? I don't think it always works that way. That's kind of the problem there. So, anyways, I feel like, well, okay, that'd be sniper on sniper though. So if DKM had snipers with no front line going up against 4.5 million troops and only sent snipers, yeah, you probably would lose. Then you get your Titans and your warplanes and your actual melee troops that are soaking up damage and having better defense values to lower that down. Kind of makes sense. But yeah, as you can see, I have nothing to talk about here, so this is a wash. Anyways, those are my musings. I'm going to go ahead and call the video here. I'm still fairly sick, so apologies for content not being out as fast. Unfortunately, when my voice is just shot like this, it's really hard to sit down and record and get videos out. I'm making an exception for these because, well, I can. So with that, if you guys can support the channel, like, comment, subscribe, share within your nation, that really does help us out a lot. I do have a Patreon. I will try to be good about linking it in the description. And if you can support me there, that'd be even better. And I'll see you on the next one.